Hi, this is Amy Magyar at FromWithin Coaching, and today on CliftonStrengths Unpacked, we are unpacking significance. And as always, I am here with Coach Augusta Goodcrawl. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Full disclosure, neither one of us have this in this theme. However, it may be because it is often seen at the bottom of the bottom of the list, top five bottom. But it's a really powerful theme. And I am excited to really dive into this with you because I think I've only ever had, in all the hundreds, almost thousands of clients that I've had, I've only had one person with significance.
I've had none. So I was reflecting on that. I have not, not one. So
yes. We're going to learn about this together for sure. So what I'm going to do is just read the CliftonStrengths version of the definition, and we'll start to talk a little bit about this. People strong in the significance theme want to be very important in the eyes of others. They are independent and want to be recognized. So usually here's where I comment on what my definition is, but I just want to point out something. This can often be really off-putting to people because it sounds, and I'm going to read it again, it sounds really inside-centric in the sense of people strong in a significant theme want to be very important in the eyes of others. And I think maybe a gentler way to sort of say that and to help people is that they're determined to make a difference. They have this drive and determination to make a difference. So that's how I would describe it. And I think a little less, maybe a way that feels a little less egocentric for somebody. What are your thoughts on the definition? The first time where we've immediately jumped right into what it's not, or you know, but what's coming up for you?
Yeah, no, I do agree with that, because when we, read or hear about somebody really wants to be recognized or really wants to stand out, immediately it's kind of the tall poppy syndrome of, well, how dare they, so that's not okay, so I agree with you. I think that that this theme is really filled with the ability to filter for what is going to create the biggest impact, what is going to leave the most lasting legacy, what's going to benefit others, the community, whatever the goal or the desire is, but what's going to benefit them the most. And within that is that, yes, that need for recognition of something well done. And this is a gift or a way of being that somebody would want to be recognized. And it's somebody who, if we're working with somebody with significance, it is helpful to have them also reflect on what they've achieved and what they have done in a way that's not egocentrical, but just keeps them aligned with being at their best.
Yes. The energy, as we talk about with strengths, right? One of your favorite topics is a little bit about the power of strengths is based on this idea that when we utilize them, it brings us energy versus not using them and draining us. And I think one of the things about significance is that people are fueled by being noticed and by being, for lack of a better way of saying, appreciated or just acknowledged. And so I think the fuel is that noticed and appreciated is for the right reasons, not for notorious, right? So you're not being noticed and acknowledged for doing all the wrong things, or being the bad person. But it's about a legacy. It's about making a difference. It's making an impact. And I think what you talked about was that idea of sorting. It's a strength that is an influencing strength, and it sorts to say what is going to make the biggest impact here. And so that's powerful. Even going back to this idea of, I use the term determined, and we use the term impact. It's like, these are some power words. This is probably someone that shows up with a pretty strong personality, right?
Yes. I do agree. Somebody who's not just in the background and who's quietly, making things happen. This is definitely somebody who leads with confidence and has that confidence because and it's you had mentioned independent. There's an independent trait with this where it's not somebody who has high significance really does work with themselves. They want to do things their own way, and they succeed in doing that. It's not a depending on others type of thing. So it's this confidence that is it's wonderful.
To that point about the confidence is that these folks tend to see feedback as fuel for them. Now, the best feedback, I think, for all of us is the good stuff. What are we doing right, and accolades for that. But I think people with significance are not afraid to hear that maybe it's not exactly what that person had hoped, because for them it is they want to be acknowledged for the good. So they're probably going to be open to, how could I make that change to make it impact you more, or to affect, or things like that. And so it's not, I'm doing something wrong. It's, there's always an opportunity maybe to do it better. And it's interesting because get somebody with significance and maximizer and look out,
Wow.
They are going to make the best of, they're not only going to be able to sort out what's most impactful, they're going to be able to take it and really make it what is the most impactful. So what's interesting, let me back up for a second. I mentioned that it's an influencing theme, and yet what I just talked about was executing. So let's talk a little bit about that in your gut. And I know that this strength is not one that you've had the opportunity to work with a lot with your clients, but what do you see as a characteristic of this theme that would make someone that makes it an influencing theme? How does significance influence somebody? And I'm putting you sort of on the spot because it's okay to say I have no idea. This is, this one, because this one's tricky.
Well, it's interesting because you had just done something a minute ago when you were talking about significance and maximizer together, and your hands, you went up like this, like they take something and that's what I think about with significance, and as far as influencing others, because it is a reaching theme there. I see it as a focus upward onto always looking, that filtering for what's going to get the most impact and the highest impact. And so when you talk about influencing others, how they would do that, I see this kind of reach, this upward reach, helping others look up and focus on what is going to bring the situation, themselves up.
Yes. Yeah. I was just writing because you constantly in these things come up with ideas that I never even thought of. So I just wrote down that reaching, the focus upward. It's movement, but it's movement that is also impacting others, right? So influencing others to take action, or others to be inspired, others to see what's possible. They're often the people that are standing in the front of the room, right? Like you said it so beautifully. They're probably not in the back. They're probably in the front. I think one of the things that happens for people with significance in this world that we live in, having been in the corporate world for a while, meetings, and you know me, I'm an extrovert, I'm a woo, I'm a connector, I'm an individualization. So meetings for me are fascinating because I can sit there and not only get my ideas across, but see the connections of what's happening in the room and individualize what's happening for each person. So it's like a science project for me. But we used to have meetings, right? And it is probably one of the toughest sort of waste of time that I noticed as, being an employee of a company. Someone with significance does not like meetings for the sake of having meetings, right? They are going to be busy work, useless meetings that don't have a focus or a need or an outcome. You're going to see that person sort of shifting in their seat a lot and almost showing up maybe impatient. And that's a good sign that if somebody on your team is not taking strengths, there's many other ways of sort of looking at it, but watch for that, because it's not that those people that are in the room aren't important to them, but they're constantly sorting to say, why does this matter? Why does this matter? Why does this matter? Why does this matter? So if you have somebody, hint, leaders with significance on your team, when you're talking to that person, perhaps that's the first thing out of your mouth when you're giving a directive. I'd love for this to happen, and here's why it matters. And here's, the sort of the benefit and the what it can do. Is because that's in their mind what they're going to be sorting for. Is that the best use of my time? So it is an efficiency side of things too. So
very much so.
To have meetings, never good for any company, right?
Yeah. And that's, I think that's really true as far as, if we are coaching someone with significance and they're wondering, if it's a career decision or, how to move within a corporation, but it's really finding those positions where you can have that independence, but also not have that wasted time or time just to fill a gap or to fill a protocol or whatever. They really, really are really fed by action, work, action, goals being aligned with something that's going to make a huge impact. Exceptional, something that's exceptional.
Absolutely. It's so much about excellence, not perfection, but I think about the strive for excellence. If strengths really is about getting us to know how to show up almost every day intentionally with excellence in mind, significance is really drawn to this, because that is what they're sort of waking up with the intention of, how can I make the biggest impact today? In whatever it is that they're going to be focusing on. What's the biggest impact? How can I be effective there? Can I, again, it's the fuel of the being noticed or being able to have the success of whatever it is that you want to get noticed. And again, I'll go back to the side of, it's interesting when people read significance, they often are like, I don't want that. I don't want to be the center. I don't want to be. And I think that there's a beauty in remembering that the beauty of this is about the reason that you are there, standing in the front of the room, is to help influence others to see the same. And so that's the mature side of this, right? Versus I want to be up in front because I want to be known. I want my 15 minutes of fame kind of thing. And some cases during, sort of the influencer year, the decade of the influencer, it's 15 seconds of fame. But there's a real reason for it, not just the desire to be in front. It's the desire to be in front to get the message across that they feel strongly about, right?
Yeah. And I think one way to discern it also, what just came up for me is, we talk about, is this egotistical, or if someone says, oh my gosh, I read about this strength and I don't want to be this way. I'm not seeking recognition or wanting, to be praised all the time. A lot of times that comes from a lack from within. And so when we talk about somebody with significance really wanting to be recognized and to stand out, it is not from a place of lack and wanting. I think we all, we can think of people who stand out or, try to do that, and where that might come from. This has got nothing to do with that. This is actually, it comes from such a strong, achieved, aligned, energized, and influencing, because how we show up really does influence others to show up in the same way. But I just see a real difference in that, and speaking to that could help somebody understand that significance, that need a little bit better, maybe, and not shy away from it.
I think it'd be interesting to sort of say, to ask, for those that have passed, people like Steve Jobs, here we are in 2021, and we have, we lost Steve Jobs a long time ago, and love him or hate him as a leader. I would love to have known what his strengths would have been as top 5. And I wonder if significance would have been one of them, because often his presence on stage, he was so determined to make the kind of impact. It's interesting. So I just watched something today on the news about how some new dashboards of cars are going to be all computerized. And the effects of being able to touch screen and shift and move, and that's all comes from iPhone and the adaptation of iPhone. And you want to talk about the impact something like iPhone made. So it's so interesting to sort of say, you know, for him, he saw the significance of the technology, but he also, I think, had the comfort of being able to show up and say, this is interesting. This is not about me and my technology. This is about technology we're giving to the world and that we're offering. And so that's a beautiful version of significance. Is he had no problem standing up and saying this and showing and trying to influence people and understanding the impact, but he didn't have to be known. You'll never hear him use the word I. It was always we. So that's a great example for leaders that have significance in understanding that the we is so important to make sure that that is showing up versus the me if you do have significance, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. This is not a paid advertisement for iPhones. We love our Android friends too. But just really, you know, the ripple effect of that technology and what it's doing now. I'm sure maybe he did or didn't know what was possible, but I think it is coming back around to, these are folks to put in the front of your company when there's a significant change coming, or there's something new that you want to introduce, because they believe so much and have such a presence that part of their influencing is their energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. What's I know this is going to be a little bit of a stretch, but when you think about significance and you think about, and we're going to do a whole series on this, of using your strengths in sort of your everyday, not so much career, leadership, things like that, but significance as a parent, is that a good thing, a bad thing? Is it when it's dialed up too high? What's your gut tell you about significance sort of within a family?
Gosh, within a family. So I think I go immediately to, you know, if it was a parent, somebody, you know, really rallying a family to work with community, you know, like going out and, you know, prioritizing making an impact on, you know, a community that might have less or that really needs some help or something. You know, it's really focusing on how can we individually and collectively as a family make an impact on others, but also instill, you know, that type of vision in our children. So that's what came up for me, you know.
Sort of the idea of what's most important. And it may not be within this household, it may be helping others and making an impact in those sort of drivers. The thought that just came up for me is, again, kind of comparing this theme, not comparing it, but coupling it with someone with belief who just has no doubt about the sort of right and wrong and all of that. Couple that with significance and
interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I wish
I
wish I'd seen this. Maybe I will. I'm looking forward to having a client with significance. I'm really looking forward to that, seeing how it shows up with their 4 other strengths, top 5.
And the thing is that, and let me just say this because I had a really long conversation this weekend about introversion versus extroversion. And I do want to plug a book called Quiet by Susan Cain. And Cain is Cain. As an extrovert myself, after reading the book, all I wanted to do was become an introvert. And I think what's interesting about significance is that someone may assume that you have to be an extrovert to have significance and to really have it show up. And I think some of our most impactful leaders are people that are driven to make a difference. They may show up on stage and drive, but they may not show up the same as somebody with extroversion and significance. So the energy is still the same to be able to make the impact. The dog and pony show, as we like to say in sales and marketing, may show up a little bit differently. Yeah. That person that is introverted with significance may show up, and their passion plea is based on belief and calm tones and simple and very matter of fact, versus somebody who has extroversion, maybe a little like I'm doing right now, a little showier, maybe you throwing hands up, telling different kinds of stories to influence. Yeah. So I just want to say that to my friends out there that are introverts. You can absolutely have a significance as well.
Oh, I agree. Yes.
Yeah. It's not a and or, so, or it's not a or kind of situation. So significance. To those of you that have significance and you've been listening, this time between myself and Augusta is not so much a time that's designed to be in lieu of a coaching session, but more so to support you thinking about your strengths and perhaps unpacking that strength with a coach, and being able to compare that with how the dynamics, or how you so beautifully say, Augusta, the constellations of our strengths, our top 5, how they work together, how there may be some in conflict, and kind of looking at those. So we really invite you to consider that and think about it, because to be honest with you, when someone has a mature strength of significance, they are the makers and shakers and can make things happen. So we would love to work with you to help you take this superpower to fight the wrongs and to support the unjust, and change the unjust. Augusta, any last minute thoughts as we wrap up on significance?
Oh, I like I said, I'm excited to work with somebody with that, because like, as you were saying, somebody might have significance and it shows up completely differently because of their 4 other, top strengths, and based on their past experiences in life. And that's the beauty and the excitement of talking to every individual we talk to, because no strength shows up the same. And it's very exciting and really, really fun. So
yeah, I love it. Remember, if you have significance, it's okay that you feel an importance to create an awareness around what you're doing. It's not a bad thing, because if anything, it may actually create some folks that mimic that, or who get inspired by that. So I look at it as being a very influencing and inspirational type of action. So we wish you the best of luck. Go change the world. Love it. All right, Augusta, thank you so much for the time. We'll see you at the next strength.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks.